am honored to have someone who has been in and around our Love and Stuff community for many years. And you often don't know what people are experiencing or going through. But I'm honored that Miss Cynthia Green is here to share from her personal experience of triumph. This is a story of survivorship. This is a story of resilience. This is a story about breast cancer awareness. And I want you to click share and tag as many women and men in this conversation because it is going to change what you think about surviving. Thank you, Cynthia Green, for joining us. I'm so excited to have you here with us. You've been just a treat and a delight to have in our community. So thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. I feel honored and I feel nervous, but that's just me.
I understand. And you're among friends in our community. It is a community all about love and stuff.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I appreciate you being so willing to share. And I'm grateful that you accepted my invitation to come and talk about your journey. So before we get into
Absolutely.
your journey, I want to learn a little bit more about Miss Cynthia Green. And so tell us, are you a native Detroiter?
Oh, yes. I was born and raised in Detroit all my life. And my parents, raised me here. So Detroit is all I know,
Yes.
actually.
And
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about your family, your parents. Do you have siblings?
Oh, yeah. Well, my mom is 93 years old. She'll be 94 November 2nd, Lord willing.
Wow.
My father is deceased. He, went on to be with the Lord at 66 years old.
Mhm.
I have three brothers, but one of them is deceased. That's my special needs brother. He died in 2017. And then I have an older brother who's in a nursing home. He's a year older than me. He's 69, so I'm 68.
Okay.
And my younger brother is 62, about to be 63. So that's a pretty kind of small family now.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah.
And wow, your mom is in her 90s. And so I want to use that as a pivot because last October, you got into a diagnosis. I want to ask you to talk through that diagnosis with us. What were you doing at the time? Was it because you had an exam? What happened? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I went for my annual, mammogram. That was
Mhm,
September 29th.
mhm,
They called me back on wait a minute. Okay, they called me back, okay, a few days later, and they said we need to do a diagnostic. They said it may only be benign, but we saw something and we have to do a diagnostic mammogram, which is a little step further than your regular mammogram, right?
mhm, mhm,
So I call, I'm thinking nothing about because they assured me it's probably just benign. This happens all the time.
mhm,
So they did a diagnostic, and then she says, I have to go see the doctor. Okay, by this time I'm worried, right? So she comes back, the doctor comes, they say, we found a mass,
mhm,
okay, a tumor,
mhm,
um, a sizable mass too.
mhm,
And so I said, well, how? And I'm thinking, okay, these people are messed up, something's wrong. But
mhm,
in essence, they said we have to do biopsy. So
mhm,
I'm thinking, they said you only need two biopsies. Well, they did biopsies on both sides
mhm,
because they found something on both sides,
mhm,
which is rare. Because usually when a woman, uh, gets breast cancer, it's on one side. It's very rare to see it on both. So by
mhm,
this time, I'm thinking. So I said, "What did I do wrong?" They said, "No, you didn't do nothing wrong." Miss Green. So to make a long story short, I uh, had the biopsies. One of them, two different kinds. A different one over here than over here.
mhm.
Um, and this other one over here was very painful. It was a pressure one where they put you in a vice and. But anyway, long story short of that,
Mhm,
um, I, I wait for they said we're going to send the results to your primary physician. My primary physician calls. Now, my daughter is at home from work. She's off that day. I was
mhm,
going to tell her because
mhm,
she's very tenderhearted.
mhm,
But to make a long story short, um, she said, Ma, your phone is ringing. It was in the living room. I was in the bedroom. So she brings it back. She sits beside me on the bed
mhm,
because she wants to know. She said, it's the doctor calling.
mhm,
So she says, Cynthia, they said it is cancer.
Well, let me
Crystal,
double back to ask a couple of questions because
okay.
you're at that time, were you 67?
I was 67. Yes, sir.
And you look amazing for 67. Let me just say that. That's goals. I can't
Well,
wait to
thank
get
you.
to 67. That's
I
amazing.
work hard. I work hard for my youthfulness.
Yes, there you go. And so I will imagine, have you had an annual mammogram every year? Just do you have that every year?
Okay, yeah. Okay, I just lost one of my earbuds. I'm okay. Can you hear me?
I can still hear you. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So yes, generally I go every year and get one. When COVID came in 2020, I did not.
Okay.
Then 2021 came, I was still very guarded.
Hmm.
So I did not. So I didn't do 2020, didn't do 2021. So
Hmm.
I said, so you telling me this was here for 2 years?
Hmm.
And yes, it was. They said that I was a stage 2
Hmm.
going to a stage 3.
And so
Was
what was
ever
going in your mind and what might you tell women about, I mean, because we were all in a pandemic and many of us were not checking in on our health because we were just concerned about going in offices and concerned about so many things. What would
I
you
know.
tell women and men now about waiting those 2 years?
I would say if you haven't had any screening that you normally do annually, get to it because I guess something can occur within a 2 year time frame that they didn't see in 19. They didn't see anything. They
Mhm.
didn't call me back for nothing.
Yeah. And did
So
you
I
have
would say
any
get the screen. I'm
get the
sorry.
screening? Yeah. Did you have any pains, anything that you look back now at 20, because hindsight that say it's 2020? Are you looking back and saying, well, I did have some uncomfortableness, some soreness, anything that maybe
I
now
ne-
you're thinking?
I never had any pain or anything except for I'm a side sleeper. I would lay on my side,
Mhm.
and by me being a full figured woman, I thought, okay, you're laying wrong, so readjust yourself. But there was a little, just like the tip of your finger, feeling like something wasn't right there.
Mm.
So that's why my doctor said, well, you need to start back up with your mammogram. So I said, oh, sure. So I did. I started back with my tooth cleanings, all that. A lot of stuff I didn't do
Mhm.
during that little time.
Mhm.
So yeah, so then they tell me it's the size of an apple or almost, and I'm like, wait now, well, size. How could something be in me the size of an apple, and I not know? They said,
Mhm.
well, you are heavy busted. I said, I'm not as heavy as some women. Some of these women, they made me look small. And I was teasing the doctor because he's Caucasian. And I said, oh, you used to seeing the women with the little boob, even though they have to go buy some big boob. But anyway, I'm just a joke. You can
Yeah.
edit that out. But anyway, anyway, to make the long story short of that, they said, no, you have it. Now on the other side, that was a different type of cancer.
Mhm.
See, one was a pattern, and this on the other side was just little I didn't know this, but they said breast cancer is different for all women. There's different
Mhm.
types of breast cancer. I
Mhm.
had what you call hers too.
Mhm.
I didn't have a friend of mine had the triple something. Hers was more aggressive. I
Aggressive.
had a mid aggressive kind. She
Mhm.
had she had much more chemotherapy and everything than me.
Mhm.
So yeah. So that being said, there's also one that's just kind of just breast cancer, but it's not. That's like number one. It's the one that's not too bad. But
Mhm.
but it also went into it affected two of my lymph nodes,
Mhm.
and that was bad because if something affects anybody's lymph nodes, it can be bad because your lymph nodes are drainages to your body and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know if you know that, but
Well, thank you for
it's a lot.
that information. I'm learning even more. And
Yeah.
before we go into the next session, we'll take a quick break and we'll be
Okay.
right back. We're talking to Miss Cynthia Green about her story of survival and resilience.
Okay.
HER2 positive breast cancer represents about 15 to 20% of all new cases of breast cancer. And in women who have HER2 positive breast cancer, and the occasional man, of course, who may have this. There are too many copies of the HER2 gene in the nucleus of the cancer cell, and that gives rise to too much HER2 protein on the surface of the cancer cell. As a result of HER2, the cancer cell is able to grow and spread and invade more readily. HER2 is something that is very important for the cancer because it helps it survive and flourish, which is, of course, good for the cancer and bad for the patient. This used to be one of the worst subtypes of breast cancer, and it probably does tend to affect younger women a little bit more than older women, although we see it across all ages. But what has changed is that over the past 15 years, we have developed so-called targeted treatments for HER2-positive breast cancer. The first of those treatments is the drug trastuzumab, which a lot of people call Herceptin. But there are 3 additional targeted treatments that are now approved for HER2-positive breast cancer, which include the drug pertuzumab and a drug called TDM1 and a drug called lapatinib. All of these are very important drugs for HER2-positive breast cancer. Sometimes they're used alone. Most of the time, they're used in combination with other treatments, specifically chemotherapy or other forms of anti-HER2 treatment, and they can be very, very effective. And what has changed is that as a result of these treatments, there are more women with early stage HER2-positive breast cancer who are cured of their cancer, and even in women who have more advanced forms of cancer, who have stage 4 or metastatic HER2-positive breast cancer, these drugs have prolonged life and, as importantly, have dramatically affected quality of life.
We're here with Cynthia Horne, who has decided to share her story. And I'm hoping in her story, you will find your story and the story of the women and men that you love to help them be more aware about breast cancer. So we left off where you had gotten the diagnosis. They told you it was the size of an apple. And I'm like you, how would something be inside of you and you not know it right at that size? Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts seeing that? Now, your mom has lived to be 93, your dad 66, you're in your 60s. What were you thinking about your life? What were you thinking about your faith and whether or not you would survive this diagnosis? What were your thoughts?
Okay, the first thing I always do when I'm in trouble is I say, Father, you brought me here, so it's a reason why I'm here. Now, when I would ask them, what did I do wrong? It wasn't like I felt I lived some kind of terrible life and now God is punishing me. It wasn't like that at all. It was just that, what did I do wrong that could have prevented this? My mother never had breast cancer. My grandmothers on both sides, aunts, never had any history of breast cancer. So I also had a genetic test done to see if I carried the gene. I do not carry the gene. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I do carry the gene to get potentially ovarian cancer, the silent one for women. Mm-hmm. Ovarian cancer is one that you can come upon you and it can be stage 4 and you don't even know it, So a lot of women need to get screened for ovarian cancer as well. That's something I learned, but also, as I said, it was something that I learned when they do a genetic analysis of all your genes. They wanted to make sure I wasn't passing this gene to my daughter or granddaughters or my son, because men can get breast cancer too. Mm-hmm. So thank you, God, hallelujah. I didn't have the gene to carry, and I didn't think I did because my mom, Now, okay, so I went to God in prayer, as humbly as I knew how, and I said, Lord, I know that you are Jehovah Rapha, God, my healer. Mm-hmm. You've healed me of other things. I had a knee replacement in my life. I had a gallbladder removal, laparoscopically, the little incisions, not a wide one. But so those are only surgeries I've ever had. Never had cancer, never had diabetes, have a little high blood pressure. stuff like that. But I always have gone to God concerning this vessel because he made it. So I'm very spiritual minded in that I'm connected to him very much so. So I didn't want to get totally start quoting scriptures and all this kind of stuff on here. But I just wanted to let you know that that is the vehicle that took me through this whole thing. And I'm not, once a cancer patient, unfortunately, you're always one because cancer is a funny thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, now we take all scriptures, we take scriptures too, but because I want people to get a sense of your journey, and it sounds like your journey based on your faith, you gave it back to God and said, you made me. So whatever the formula or medicine or cure that is going to happen is going to come from you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm kind of
you're right.
Maybe that's what you were thinking. How critical was that to your support system and walking this journey?
I would have been a crazy person had I not known the Lord. If I wouldn't have had nowhere to go to. I would have been fearful and all this. And fear still comes to you because you're human, but you don't carry it. You cast it away from you. You cast it away and you say, okay, Lord, I'm going to walk in faith, not in myself, but in who he is. He's bigger than cancer. He's bigger than any disease. He's bigger than, he made us. He made this entire universe and everything in it. So he has the power. Now, can he supernaturally heal me? Yes, I believe that. If I can believe that he's going to do it for me, though. See, he performed miracles all through the ages, right? But sometimes we say, but will you do it for me, Lord? You know that song, do it for me, do it for me. Well, sometimes we feel like we're not worthy, or maybe he did it for them for a different reason, or, whatever. But my thing is, he can heal you through the physician. See, because some people go through medicine and, do the doctor's thing and they still don't get healed. So he still is the healer by way of the doctor. The doctors, I look at them as his servants that they serve us. And he's the chief physician on board. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and that's a great way.
When I go into, the processes, I'll get to that too in a minute about the processes of what happened. I don't know if you want me to go there yet.
Yeah, right before you go there, we'll take a quick break because I do want to walk through your journey. What did your journey entail, the process that you say? We're talking to Miss Cynthia Horne, and I hope that you will click, share, and tag someone because you want to hear about this journey, because we never know who might be walking this journey next. And we want the survivor rate to go up and the resilience rate to go up. So click share wherever you're watching as we continue with Cynthia Horne.
Hi, my name is June Rochelle and I own Detroit Couture. We are a fashion-forward women's boutique, and we offer friendly sizes from small all the way up to 3X women's sizes, very generously fit, very great quality. I actually have on one of our pieces today. It's called the Cuffed Up. It's in gray, burgundy, and black and olive, and it actually has a lot of stretch and give. So listen, in this time, we try to make sure that, first of all, it's quality and customer service that we offer our clients. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity to share with you. So go and visit us at DetroitCouture.com.
We're back and we're talking to Miss Cynthia Horne, and I've been saying green because that's what I knew to say, but she's going to share with us during this journey. Not only were you having a physical transition, you were having a relational transition. Can you talk to us a little bit about how during this time you ended up being divorced?
Yes, back in August 20th of 2012, my husband decided he didn't want to be married anymore. So, I'm thinking, okay, I offended him some kind of way. So I just went through a thing and I asked him, well, why and this and that. And so from 2012, August 20th, 2012 till this year, I was talking to the Lord. I was living clean before the Lord. Because see, keep in mind, we can still do our thing If but in the sight of God, we're still married. So I said, Lord, I'm gonna live clean before you. I'm not gonna deal, because people ask you to go, well, let me take you out. No, I can't do that. I'm still married. And people thought I was crazy. But to make a long story short, I was trying to do it to please the Father, not people, because at the end of the day, that's who I have to answer to at the end of the day, for real, when it's all over. So getting back, so I filed for the divorce, and because that's what he said he wanted. Because I asked him in 2016, I said, and he said, no, I haven't changed my mind. We still, that's when we were doing our taxes together still, and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, I went on and filed, and I told him, I want you to know it wasn't nothing hateful. I don't have no other man in my view. It's nothing like that. I just have to get my business in order because I have some things going on. Didn't tell him about what was happening with me with my medical situation.
So he didn't know that you had a breast cancer diagnosis.
He did not know, and people kept saying,
"How come?" Decide not to share that with him?
Thank you. People kept asking me, "How come you didn't tell him?" I said, because I don't want him to feel sorry for me and come back for that reason, because that's going to be the wrong reason.
Yeah,
that's going to be the wrong reason. You either want me for me, and so that's what I did. So I went on to file for the divorce, got the divorce, and I have talked to him in the past 2 to 3 weeks more than I've talked to him in those 12 months that we were separated. Because he still has relationships with my children, even though he was the stepfather. He helped raise them because they were very young when we got married. So
this was about 30 years total. 30 years total.
We got married August 5th, 1993.
Wow.
Well, we met in 1990. We courted for 3 years, and then we got married in 1993, August 5th. And so this was 30 years of marriage. But you got to take away those 12 years we weren't together, but in a way,
Yeah. And do you think that the parting was amicable because you were friends first, or what do you think?
When you say amicable, you mean that it was where we weren't
arguing and adversarial and fighting?
Oh yes. Oh, definitely. Because he's a Christian man as well.
Okay.
And we try to treat people the way we want to be treated, because he literally doesn't act like, a Christian man that's worldly. He's not a worldly acting man at all. Very passive, mild nature, fallback. That's why I thought he was going to come back. And people tell me he still loves you. It's something else, but he doesn't feel he can share it with you. So I don't know what it is. Yeah. But I'm glad that we can
counseling. I'm just curious. Did you ever go to counseling?
I asked for it, and he says no. Some of these counselors have worse problems than the people. So we did go to counseling during our marriage one time.
Okay.
And the counselor was telling him about all his problems with his wife and how he'd been married twice. And so he said, I don't need to go. They got more problems than us. I'm like, oh, Lord. And we went to the wrong counselor, obviously.
Yeah. And so you ended up, during this time of dealing with this diagnosis, not sharing the diagnosis because you didn't want him to stay because of that you made the decision to divorce him. Let's go back and talk a little bit about what this journey was, because now we see that you were in a support system with the guy, but not quite in the support system with your spouse because you all were separated. What was it like? What was prescribed to you? How many rounds of chemo and radiation? And what was that journey like for you?
Okay. Initially, I was prescribed that I was going to have 5 rounds of chemo, and it was going to be with 2 very strong chemo drugs. Okay, so I went in and had the first one. To load up all that stuff in my body was 4.5 hours. I never knew what this was, to have something hung up, and you got a shunt in your chest. I got a thing in my chest. I had to go to surgery, have this thing put in my chest where they just hook you up to it, and it'll come out whenever I'm all done. But anyway, I've seen people that are on dialysis and stuff like that. My dad was a dialysis patient, but I never knew what it was to be infused, you know. So it was very just a new territory that I never experienced. And so that was 4.5 hours to sit there. I was very, 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 very sick. I thought sometimes you think the chemo drugs are gonna kill you first, because I wasn't sick before all this started happening. I wasn't sick. So you say, and then you're so sick that you can't, you don't want to eat, because it makes you nauseous, and it makes you, you have fatigue, you have brain fog. I still have a little bit of that. That's why I can't get myself together. But you do things to strengthen that. But I don't have chemotherapy now, but I have immunotherapy, but I will get to that. But so you have all these drugs going in. That was just to load up. When they load up on the first one, they're putting an extra amount. Then the next one is only, instead of it being an hour putting that one in, an hour putting this one in, because they were putting in not only chemo drugs, but they were putting in the immunotherapy drugs at the same, but they can't put them in all at once. They have to put them in one at a time. So that's why you're sitting there 4.5 hours. They can't just put it all in at once. Your body has to, they have to load it in, infuse it in to your blood. And so, yeah.
And so this made you sick. So this was after you did the first one and you were so very sick. What were you thinking?
Okay, I was saying this, you know, I look pitiful. My daughter was my support person. She's 40 years old. She'll be 41. She lives with me, and she is like my right arm girl, for real. She always has been. She's all just like your niece is to you. That's how she is to me. She's just so connected, and I'm afraid for her because she anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I'm afraid.
When you say you're afraid for her, what do you mean?
Well, in the sense that whenever it's my time to go, I told her, let me go, and understand that our faith is that we'll meet up on the other side in glory, but we'll be different, but we'll know each other. But I remember when she was in middle school, she used to say, "Oh, I love you so much, Mom. If you die, I'm going to die with you when you die." And she was in middle school. I said, "Oh no, honey, you have to go on and live. You can't, she was 12, 13, something like that, 14. And I said, and she's very protective of me, and very just, people see us together. They say, you all have like the perfect mother-daughter relationship. You can tell she honors you so much. And then my son, he's the baby, but he's 6'5" and everything, but he showed things within himself as a son. See, a son and daughter convey different things to you. She's more the nurturer. He's more of this take me to my appointment. Make sure I didn't have to drive to nothing, because when you get through having it, you're not going to want to drive or anything, and then you're sickly and all of a sudden, and then for like a whole week to 10 days, you're sick. You're having all these stomach issues. They give you all this medication for your stomach, and then you don't want to eat. Then they want you to eat, because a person that's not eating, that's on chemotherapy, is very dangerous. Plus you have to drink water, which I'm a water drinker. I always was. But there's some people that aren't water drinkers that will be a problem for them. But I always have my water. I always have water. I drink 1.5 gallons of water a day. I really do.
That's
because
good.
I drink, when you drink it through a straw, you take it, and then it's got to be cold. Now, since I'm a chemo patient, but before it didn't have to be cold. It could be room temperature, a bottle of water, room temperature. But now I have to have it cold for some reason. Things change when you have become a chemo patient. I don't know, your taste buds. Okay, that's another thing. The tongue and your inside of your mouth can get raw to the point where they gave me this special toothpaste just in case, but I never had that. But my friend did that. She had the inside of your mouth tries to get raw, your tongue, you can't, do that. So
yeah,
I didn't have that. My side effects were just the terrible stomach aches. I did throw up one time, but I found out why that was. You have to be careful what you're eating before and after, and all. Well, the medicine, once it's infused into your body, it's in there. So when you go to the bathroom, you can smell it. You know, when it's coming, you can smell it. It's in there. It stays with you. So the infusions are every 3 weeks.
Okay.
So that's when you're starting to feel like yourself that last week before the next infusion. You feel like yourself again. You don't even feel like a cancer patient. Then now here you go back and let them hit your body again with this stuff. And then it's like a roller coaster. You're up and down.
Yeah. And so how did you keep yourself going? Because you said you have 5 rounds of it, or you were...
I was scheduled for 5. So here's the thing. On the first one, he had to stop one of the chemo drugs. And that was the one that was causing neuropathy in my feet. And then he said, wow, did you have neuropathy already? I said, no. He said, well, people don't usually get it to the second or third. I said, well, I feel all this, like my feet are numb on the bottom. And, you know, and so he said, well, I'm going to stop one of the chemo drugs. And I said, well, pray, because I'm praying about everything all along. Whenever something, just like you pray before you eat, I was praying before I had my infusion.
Okay.
I asked God to just preserve my body and let the drugs do what they're intended to do, and that's to kill any cancer cells. But don't let it, I know it's killing some of the bad ones, but I asked him to preserve my body in his way, start supernaturally. So that's just how that was. And so as a result, he stopped the neuropathy. I mean, he stopped the chemo drug that was causing neuropathy. And I never had 2 again anymore. That's another thing. I only had 1 going through to the end. Now, when we got things started happening before they give you an infusion, they have to draw your blood, check it at the lab. They're checking your platelet levels. They're checking your white blood counts too. I mean, white blood cells. Those are the fighter cells. If you get an infection, your white blood count cells are the ones that fight infection of any kind. So those were getting low. So then sometimes they say, well, they're low. And your body is so unique. It tries to restore itself. God has made us wonderfully well, where the body begins to try to restore itself. And it will. So they say, okay, you can't have your infusion in these 3 weeks. Come back another week. And so I said, oh, I would be mad or sad, and I wanted to get over with. So they said, my daughter had asked for that day off at work, and it's just a lot of things. Sometimes I had a deacon friend take me, and that I've had this friendship for 17 years. He's married, but he still told me, I'm going to help you as long as nothing's happening with my wife. I can take you. It's no problem. So I said, well, praise God. So I had support system. My son, he helped me a couple of times even when he wasn't working, and one time he just took off work. He said, I'm just taking off work so I can take you to your appointment. Yeah. So as a result, what happened, so when I got to they had to just stop giving me infusion because the blood levels had dropped too low. And they said, okay, so then they had only did 4. And then they said, yeah, for some reason your body's not coming back. Are you getting proper rest? Are you eating your protein? Protein is very important when you're a cancer patient. Protein, a lot of people are probably protein deficient. And when we think protein, we think meat, but it's not always meat. There's protein in so many other sources of food that we eat. You can buy protein bars, but you got to be careful with all these protein things that they sell because they have additives in them that can cause cancer. So we have to do our research. You got to read that, and you've got to if you go online and start research, you'll get all the answers back, and it's a never-ending process.
And I want to ask you about, so you got to the 4th round. Did you complete the 5th round? Did they have additional rounds?
No, he stopped at the 4th round. Then they said, they had me do they checked, they gave me a scan or something. They were looking and they said, okay, we're very, what do they say? What's the word you use? we are amazed how that one drug shrunk those cancer tumors so much. Oh, he used the word substantially.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I told you God is in this. So he, what y'all putting on, he's doing his part too. And, so they used to say, you're very strong. You're not fearful. You're not angry. Like some people, you have this, positiveness. I said, it's not, I don't want to say it's positive. I want to say it's faith,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it is positive. But, I refuse to be a downtrodden, feel sorry for me person. That's not my makeup. I'm the person to bring the light in the room and
Mm-hmm.
try to say, how you doing? And put a smile on your face and make you feel, lifted,
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
So Cynthia, where does that light come from? I think I know, but I want to hear it from you. Where does that
Well,
light come from that you
well,
just in the room with this positivity and things are going to be well? Where does that light come from?
well, the scriptures say, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify who? Not you, the Father in heaven.
Yeah.
So, the songs we sing, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine,
Mm-hmm.
let it shine. We are the light of the world. Now, Jesus was the light of the world, the light of the world, but he says that we are the light of the world too.
Mm-hmm.
He gave us that light because he's in us. See,
Mm-hmm.
and so I know I used to work at AT&T, and one of my supervisors, when I would walk in, she would say, "Hello, sunshine." I said, "Why you always call me that?" And she said, "Every time I come in, first thing in the morning." She said, "Because when you come in, you have a smile on your face, and you brighten up the atmosphere, and you just, it's good to see you. Some of these people come in cussing and fussing, and I don't want to be here. But you come in, you have a good I said, well, aren't we supposed to start the day up here? We're not supposed to start down there, because if you start down there, you're going to be buried. You have to start it on a high note, even
Yeah.
though we were dealing with the customers, which we know customers are very irate in this world. And that was back then. So they're even worse than that.
Yeah, they can be. They can be. We're talking to Cynthia Horne. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk to you after the doctors were amazed about the shrinkage of these tumors. What was the next step and how you continue to go through that journey? I want people to hear about how the light that's within you help you to move forward. We're talking with Cynthia Horne. Click share right now and tag someone to join us.
Welcome to Powerful Money Tools LLC. At Powerful Money Tools, we are here to prepare for your future. We want to talk about financial freedom. Financial freedom is budgeting, credit building, and also financial education. So once again, welcome to Powerful Money Tools LLC. We can't wait to help you in your financial future.
We're back and we're talking to Miss Cynthia Horne about her extraordinary journey just starting a year ago of this breast cancer diagnosis and how she is surviving and how the light that is emanating from within is shining on her journey, that you and I might learn from it and that we might carry it forward to others that are having this journey or may have this journey. So Cynthia, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
We talked in the last segment that doctors were amazed at how the tumors had shrunk based on the therapy. What happened after that?
Okay, after that, they said, now you have to go see the surgeon. So then I said, well, what? They said, you have to go see the surgeon, which I had seen the surgeon to just meet him. But what I'm thinking I was just going to get a lumpectomy, I think it's pronounced. That's where they only take partial tissue. Well, after I went and, and everything, the surgeon, Dr. Michael Jacobs, he says, well, you need to have a double mastectomy. So,
and what
my
was that
daughter,
hearing those words, what did that do to you?
My daughter started crying. She's in the room. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. Okay, by this time, he says it's an hour and a half surgery, Again, I'm still when somebody's talking to me, I'm talking to God. There's a dual thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hearing the doctor, but I'm still trying to hear the Lord as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm asking his reasoning for this, and he breaks it down that you have it in both sides. Because of that, we always do suggest a double mastectomy. Because of that, if you just had it in one side, we probably wouldn't touch the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, since you have it both sides, plus it went into the lymph node, we don't know. See, they had done several scans prior to all of this to make sure that none of it had metastasized. I think that's what it's called, where it goes, cancer begins to spread through your body. And then, so when they saw that in the lymph node, they're thinking, oh my God, well, it was not metastasized. It wasn't in the bones. They had checked my torso. Oh, the scanning test wore you out. I had to have MRIs on my breast. I had to lay on this table so awkward with my breast hanging down through holes. And, that was like the worst one, and you're laying there for like 20, 25 minutes. But it's a hard, skinny table for a big woman. And I told them, listen, I need you all to help me get up, because I can't do no push-ups. I can't do, it was crazy. But anyway, I had all those scans. So when they did this final thing to look at me, they said, like I said, they were really amazed how substantially the cells has shrunk. So then I said to him, well, why do you have to take it all off if they shrunk? He said, he tried to explain in his own layman way where I would understand that cancer is, once you have cancer, it can be in there, and it can try to be fierce and come back and all this kind of stuff. It's just a lot of stuff. So I said, okay. I said, I don't need them. That doesn't define me as a woman. Okay, I'm a woman, not by body parts, but I'm just a woman. So I'm thinking it's going to be real simple. He told me, well, your arm where you had they took out, they didn't just take out the 2 lymph nodes that were affected by it, but they also took out several others. Under your arms, you have as much as 40 lymph nodes or something, I'm told. They took out those and then some. They took out, I think 20 or something like that. But anyway, then on this side, they took one out just for observation to see. This is it's a scientific thing. They take one out on the side that's not, just and so that it was clean. They said that one was clean, so we know that it didn't spread anymore and all this stuff. So I don't know. It's just crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a little bit about something you said just a minute ago, that having your breasts don't define you as a woman. I marvel at that. Of course, being a man, I couldn't know, right? But I would imagine women might have a certain connection of their breast to being
absolutely
a woman. And so
some women
contend with that. How did you contend with that?
Well, you're right. Some women, it's important to them, especially younger women that are still dating and looking for a love of their life and all this kind of stuff. And then just the fact that they feel they're not where I am. See, I guess well, okay, yeah, I don't know what to say here. I guess everyone's different how they perceive things in their mind. So my perception was, if it's going to save my life, I don't, and I heard the scripture in my mind, if your right hand offends you or something, it's just but cut it off. So I said, so they've offended me, so they got to go.
They got to go. Okay.
All right. So yeah, so I thought it was going to be easy. Oh, and I want to back up to the chemotherapy, if I may. The
Yes.
chemotherapy, after doing 2 rounds of chemotherapy, all my hair just came out. I was combing my hair and it was literally just coming out, just like you just stroke it. And so what I did, I had my son cut off the rest. And then he was in a picture with me. I don't know what we did with that picture. He says, now we're twins for real. Because they always say me and my son look like twins. I said, how does a woman and a man look like twins? But they said, you all do. Your son looks more like you than your daughter. But anyway, because he has a bald head. You know, he wears the bald head with the beard. He said, you just need a beard. You know, he had jokes because he's the comical person of the family. So we have to laugh even in the times of stress. Because that shows you're real. You have to lighten it up because you can't just be doom and gloom. So I appreciated his comicalness. He knows, I know that he didn't mean it in a cruel way at all. He was just saying, look, you look like me for real now, you know. But anyway, so I had lost my hair. And then I had put all my hair in this plastic sandwich bag, this great big plastic, and I said, I still have it. And I said, I can't. I looked at it. I said, "You can't put this back on." Now I do wear hair pieces. I've always wore hair pieces, weaves, all kind of stuff because I'd never really liked my hair. So I was like, "It's no big deal with the hair," but I was wrong because when all the hair came out and I go in the bathroom, you know, and I look in the mirror, I had a moment. I was like, "Oh, you know, you just look like an egghead," and then you feel some kind of way. You know how people say, I feel some kind of way. What does that mean? It just means that you feel odd. You say, this is really happening. It's like a reality hit. This is really happening. I have cancer. I used to look at cancer patients, children, St. Jude. I have a heart for them. I give to them because I have a heart for children, period. For them to have to deal with cancer seems like so horrific to me for a child. So, and then, you know, so I give St. Jude. But anyway, I've always, when I worked at the phone company, I did. So anyway, the long story short of that, so the hair, you know, came off. So now the boobs are coming off. So now I feel like, am I uncomfortable in my whole body? You know, I don't feel like myself anymore. I feel like when I look in the mirror, now that I had the mastectomy, remember I said I thought it was going to be easy with that too, but it wasn't. What happened was I couldn't lift my arms up over my head. My range of motion was, my daughter I couldn't even get a plate off the shelf. I couldn't, my daughter had to help bathe me, you know, I could wash the front, but she had to wash me all. I couldn't reach around. So I did several things to get the range of motion back, and it came back. It was scar tissue. My chest felt like a board. I said to the doctor when I went to get my checkup appointment, I said, "Did you put some kind of something hard in my chest?" He said, "No, Miss Green." Well, at the time I was green, but he said, "No, it was your muscles are hard like a rock." So that's the body's way of protecting itself. Whenever there's trauma to the body where muscles are, the muscles get hard. I mean, hard as a rock. I mean, seriously, it's soft now. It's not hard. But I used to feel like there was some kind of board in it.
Did you have some kind of reconstructive surgery, or they just
no? Okay. And that was the question. He asked me, "Do you want us to do the surgery where you have reconstruction right side by side, where she'll be there in the room?" Because I met the woman that would do it, and I talked with her. She said some people do it because they want to have breasts, and he said, or if you don't want to have the surgery right then, I can leave enough skin so it can be performed later. I said, no, just take it off. I'm not gonna, because I've talked to a few people, you can get skin infections, and any type of infection and your cancer patient can be detrimental. So I was afraid of that. And I said, well, at my age, you know, I don't want to act like I'm an old woman. I'm older, but, you know, old is like, to me, 80, 85, 9, you know, that's old. But still, you're still a valuable person. You're still here. My mother, very much so. And I have to go to my mother. My mother's 93. She's in the nursing home only because my mom had a hip replacement surgery when she was 79. She never got up walking again. She couldn't handle the pain. She was a very feisty woman. Told the doctors, "I know my rights. You can't make me." And so she didn't realize she was messing with her life. And I wanted to bring her home. I said, "Well, I'm gonna turn my living room into a bedroom." And my aunt in Chicago said, "You can't do that. You have problems with your own health." This was, my lower back and with my knee. She was like, "You can't do that. It's just keep in track with her there. Don't just let her be there, but go there." And so I would go regularly and go see my mom. Cut her nails, comb her hair, give her, stuff and stay there hours with her, all of that. I used to do all of that. And I used to cry that I couldn't do it no more right now. And then when I did see her, recently, the doctor told me, "Yes, you can go, but your immune system is still challenged. So I don't want you to stay long. I don't want you to do a lot of kissing. So I'm like, okay." So my mom and I do Zoom calls, and she's very comical. She's always, and I don't know if that's her way of keeping me. But I have to say this part. I told her what was going on, and she said to me, "I'm so sorry that you're going through this." But she also said, "I want you to just remember to believe."
Wow.
Believe for God's best. And I tell people all the time, isn't it interesting that my mother's here for such a time as this? I don't have to think about what mom would say. I know what she said because she said it to me. That was like the most valuable thing I can't express. And I'm sure you could probably imagine. So you don't have your mom. You just can imagine that when you're going through, mama was there to tell you that. That is a blessing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of little nuggets of blessings like that.
Yeah. Before we come back to talk a little bit about because you're still in the journey, it's still it's been a year, and so you're going through the immunotherapy. I want to talk a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about what you have learned, what you know for sure walking in the situation, and what you want people to walk away with understanding about you. We'll be right back. We're talking to Miss Cynthia Horne about her extraordinary journey through breast cancer, and I'm hoping that it will raise awareness not only in the Love and Stuff community, but Facebook and Twitch TV and YouTube events wide, that people will have hope and faith about this diagnosis. We'll be right back.
Immunotherapy is an exciting area of cancer research that is changing the way we think about cancer treatment. Immunotherapy works by using the body's immune system to fight cancer. The immune system is a complex network of organs, tissues, and cells, and the substances they make. One of the purposes of the immune system is to rid the body of germs, such as bacteria, and abnormal cells, such as cancer cells. Immunotherapy uses different ways to boost the immune system to do a better job of killing cancer cells. This video describes 3 types of immunotherapy that are used to treat cancer: nonspecific immune stimulation, T-cell transfer therapy, and immune checkpoint inhibitors. Nonspecific immune stimulation is a type of immunotherapy that stimulates a patient's immune response in a general way. In nonspecific immune stimulation, drugs or other substances are used to increase the overall immune response, which can help kill cancer cells. For example, some patients who have had surgery to remove bladder cancer may also be treated with a substance called BCG. When BCG is put into the bladder, it can cause a nonspecific immune response that kills cancer cells that remain in the bladder after surgery. This may keep the cancer from getting worse or coming back. T-cell transfer therapy is another type of immunotherapy. T cells are a type of immune cell and are powerful weapons the immune system uses to fight cancer. For T-cell transfer therapy, T cells are taken from a patient and changed in the laboratory to make them better able to target the patient's cancer cells and kill them. Millions of copies of these specially changed T cells are then grown in the laboratory and given back to the patient to fight the cancer. Immune checkpoint inhibitors are a third type of immunotherapy. Immune checkpoints on cell surfaces help control an immune response. Usually, immune checkpoints keep T cells inactive, that is, in an off state, until they're needed. This keeps the T cells from harming normal cells. Cancer cells can take advantage of these checkpoints to switch T cells off. This keeps the cancer cells from being killed. Immune checkpoint inhibitors are drugs that block the checkpoints. This frees the T cells to attack the cancer. These three types of immunotherapy are effective ways to treat cancer, but they don't work for every patient and can cause serious side effects. Researchers supported by the National Cancer Institute are working to learn more about how the immune system works to fight cancer. By studying this, researchers can learn how to improve immunotherapy for all patients. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health, National Cancer Institute, cancer.gov/immunotherapy, 1-800-4-CANCER. Artwork and animation by Therese Winslow, LLC and Devon Medical Art, LLC. Produced June 2018.
And we're back. We're talking to Miss Cynthia Horne about her extraordinary journey that is still in progress as she brings light to breast cancer awareness during this month. And Cynthia, I wanted to ask you, after the after the surgery, you had the mastectomy, double mastectomy, right? After that surgery, then you started radiation or immunotherapy. What was next?
Okay, he sent me to go talk to the radiologist, and she was very sweet. I had talked to her before. I had talked to the whole team before I started each segment. So I said to her, I said, now radiation is a little scary in the sense that you can be getting radiation and it can affect your lung tissue. Since I had on both sides and I didn't know where she was going to do the radiation. And she said, well, I was just going to do it on the right side where the most was. I said, okay, now that's burning my skin. That's going to be more, that's going to take, that's just, radiation is very serious. If you Google it, there's so many side effects to that too. So I said, I think my body's been mutilized enough. I used the word mutilized, I did. And I said, then you talk about doing it. Now my breast hasn't, the chest hasn't healed, that skin. So you're going to do radiation. So it just sounded like it didn't make sense. So I asked my primary doctor, why do they suggest radiation too? You had everything cut off. So but the radiologist said it like this. The reason why we suggest radiation is like, think of a snowball. That's the cancer. You've rolled the snowball up in your hand. Now you throw it. Now the snowball is gone, right? But look at your mittens. You see snowflakes. So we're trying to hit the microscopic possible cancer that's there. So I said to her, okay. She said, now after everything you've had done so far, the chemotherapy, the double mastectomy, you are now, if you have radiation, that's only going to give you a 10% more chance that it won't reoccur. I said, only 10%? And getting, So I said, well, you know what? I prayed about it before I came to see you, and I have a piece about this. I'm not going to do radiation. I will continue with the immunotherapy because that's you do 18 rounds of that. I have 4 more to go. And so I said to her, and she said, well, that's fine, because you don't have to. She said, there's some people that go ahead and do the radiation, they still have a reoccurrence. There's some people who don't do radiation and it comes back fierce. But by you having all that tissue removed, and he said it didn't cross over your chest wall, because there's a wall they look at of your chest. You should be fine. And so I felt confident in that. And so when I went to see my oncologist, I told him, he said, well, you're fine. He said, because you had a big surgery, and I think that was a good call for you to say no radiation, because like you said, it's just another step. He said, you have to understand, my primary physician told me this too. Whenever someone's diagnosed with, I'll just say breast cancer, because there's so many different kinds of cancer, but there's a regimen that they follow in the medical field. They first find out what kind of cancer you have. Then they say, okay, we have found in our studies and dealing with patients through the years, this is what is good for this patient. They go into a room, they have a team of doctors talking, they have the residents there, the people that are studying to be doctors, they have your thing up on like in the TV, they have your thing up on the thing, and everybody's looking at it and they're discussing, what do you think is best for this patient? And people raise their hand, they say why, and so it's a big thing when they're thinking about your treatment that you're going to get, what level. So another thing, my oncologist was an older man. He retired in June. So now I have a younger oncologist. And now my older oncologist would have said, no, Miss Green, I want you to go ahead and have the radiation. Because I could tell, because he told me you're going to have it all. But I didn't. I didn't. I know it's taking a chance. My friend that I told you, she had triple something cancer. She said, well, Cynthia, I just got it because I needed that extra layer. I needed it. She said, but you didn't do nothing wrong by not getting it. So now the immunotherapy is still cancer drugs, but they're not chemo drugs, they're cancer drugs. So they're still hitting any potential cancer that might still be in the body. It's just a regimen to do 18. I told them, how come I can't just do 12? They said, because that's not the regimen. This is the medical society has decided this is what we should do. We don't do less than 18, we do 18. So I guess, I'm a person who asks a lot of questions. I think they got tired of me, but they don't act mean to you. They're very sweet. But they say, well, that's just the regimen. And like I said, my primary physician told me, I said, well, I think I need a second opinion. He said, you can go get a second opinion, but I'm going to tell you something. It's going to, the next doctor is going to look at what's going on, and he's going to say, yes, that is probably right. Because it wasn't one doctor that decided your treatment. It was a team of doctors that all conferred with each other.
Yeah. And so I want to ask you, as we prepare to close, and I want to thank you for this time. Your journey is continuing, and you've made some decisions about radiation that are best for you and continue with immunotherapy. I want to ask you, what do you feel like is the most important lesson that you've learned in this journey so far? It's been a year and still on this journey. What's the most important lesson that you want to share with us?
Well, I would say the most important lesson is that God is real. I mean, even when you go through the storms of life and you go through the darkest area, like that scripture in Psalm 23, verse 4, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are walking through a valley of shadow of death when you deal with cancer of any kind. Because cancer is a very dreadful disease. And I said to the Lord, I never thought you would bring me here. So I did have faith in him already, but it's drawn me closer to him. So what has happened, it has drawn me closer in my faith to God. It's also shown me that everything that I've been studying and hearing in the word, that he walks with you, you are he's your place of refuge and strength. It's all true, for real. I mean, for real. See, we hear scriptures, but when you apply them and you see that it's true, that God is who he says he is. And I'm just being real, because I tell everybody, this is a faith walk. Yes, it's cancer. Cancer doesn't have me. I have cancer. It's the difference. See, and so I know who my Heavenly Father is. I know he knows all about this body. I know this didn't catch him by surprise. He knew I was going to get cancer. He knew, but and then the blessing of it is they caught it in time. Because I'm going to just tell you, if they had told me it was a stage 4 and you have 6 months to live, then that would look different.
Mhm.
That would look very different. Would I be the strong person? Would I feel so confident? I don't know, because it sounds like a death sentence, kind of
Mhm.
like people
Mhm.
that are diagnosed. So I tell people, go get checked and get checked so that early screening, it's true, is beneficial. The
Mhm.
early they can catch something, the better. I see people younger than me that are gone, beautiful people. And I
Mhm.
said, I wondered, what she die of? You don't know. Sometimes young people say, I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But they don't realize what's happening in the body. And also, I got to say this part. Um, you have our bodies, we look at our body as a whole piece, right? But our body is made up of millions and millions of cells. So when you eat, remember, you're feeding that cell.
Mm.
Remember when we did biology or science back in the day, and they would tell us the whole, get to the nucleus of the cell and all that? That's what it's about.
Mhm.
So when I pray now, I say, Lord, I thank you for healing me to the nucleus of my cell,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I'm telling you, God is supernaturally, he is all powerful. And we look at the world and we say, well, why does he allow this? He has a plan, and his plan is being fulfilled, but eventually he will bring things to a close when he gets ready, because he's God like that. He can do that. He
Mhm.
made us. The Bible says it is he that has made you, and not you yourselves. We didn't make ourselves. So
Mhm.
we have to be submissive to him and trust him all the way. He's taught me in this journey of my life to
Yes.
trust him more, and to be able to share with others about the realness of God, because it's not just to say it, but I've lived it. I can tell you, if you just trust him, he knows the ones that trust him. He
Mhm.
knows the ones that just, mouthing it and, going through the motions. He knows that too. But
Mhm.
I just pray that people will come to know the fullness of God truly, that
Yes.
he is real, and that everything he's given us in the word of God is his love letter to us, to let us know, I love you. I wrote this book for you. If you apply it to yourself, it will bring life to your body, even to the marrow of your bones. It will bring life to you. And I
Mhm.
tell people, this is not about me. It's never about me. It's about giving God the glory in it all. Because at the end of the day, people say, oh, you were so brave. I
Mhm.
said, I was only brave because he said in Isaiah 41:10,
Mhm.
and see, now I can't say it, but in Isaiah 41:10, he talks about, don't be afraid.
Mhm.
I'm with you.
Mm.
So we have to remember to not be afraid.
Yes. I am appreciative so much. There is a woman or man who in October 2023 has received a diagnosis. Is there anything that you want to add to anything that you would have said to encourage him or her who is just beginning this journey right now?
Yes, number one, if you don't know God, cry out to God. He still hears you. He hears everybody. He hears anyone that has, because he made us all. So cry out to God first. Then the second thing is, don't complain. Cause see, complaining, you lose your power. You lose you're digging a hole. Don't complain. Be grateful. That you've come this far. Find things to be grateful for. See, I try to, like, okay, thank God for your book and everything. I got it on my ebook, but I only got part of it. I got the free part, the part that they give you the summary, but I got to just go ahead and push in and buy it. I don't know what I'm
Buy
thinking
it.
about.
You
It's
gotta
on my
buy it.
ebook. But anyway, yeah, and so the reason why I do ebooks is because you just get too many books in the house. It's crazy when you're
Mhm.
my age. So, but anyway, I was saying that for them to take it a step at a time, a day at a time,
Mhm.
because you can't take it all in at once. Take it a day at a time.
Mhm.
Then think, if I had a cousin that was a nurse. She said, always think positive. and she was a Christian too. So she used the word positive. So I guess positive is okay to use as long as you're not just trying to be positive. But I think of positive as not being spiritual enough. We have to remember that we're not just flesh and blood, but we are spirit. We were spirit before we were anything, called into our mother's womb. He said, I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. He knew us. We were a spirit. So he called us into our mother's womb, and then we were birthed into this earth. And so get spiritual too as well, because your spirit man it's going to actually lead the flesh, the physical part of you. I mean, so anyway, I don't know if I answered that right. I don't know if it made sense, but yeah,
it did. I think you said cry out unto God, and you said
don't complain,
be grateful, and get into your spirit man leading you through. Stay positive and get your spirit man leading you through the experience.
Yes.
I think all of that is great, and I know that your journey is still continuing, but that light that you have shining in you, Cynthia, I think has shown light for others to see how to go through something that, as you characterize it, is a dreadful disease. And I'm hoping that those that are watching and will watch will see your example and see your story, where you say it's not about you, it's all about him. But he has crafted a love letter and story and involved you so that others could see. And I'm hoping that people will draw strength and hope and courage to face the journey. And I'm hoping that if someone is not experiencing this journey, that they will share it with someone who has or is, to help to strengthen them. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being with us. And is there anything that you want to say before we close?
Yeah, a couple of things. I just wanted to say, make sure you have a good support system too. That's going to be very important. When you have people surrounding you, and you don't need but 2 or 3 good people that you can call in the case of a need that you have, whether to bring you a meal or take you to an appointment or wash your back or whatever the case may be. You have your support system in place. And I know a lot of people are not blessed to have support systems. They don't know people but I thank God for my son, my daughter, my son's fiance. She's super too. And my mother, she gave the support from a place of where she's in a nursing home. But I tell people all the time, don't rule out the people in the nursing home. That there's a reason why they're still here. God still has value. That's a soul in there. And if they're still talking, like we know some are not, but if they're still talking, they have purpose. They can give you something. So, and I wanted to say another thing that I do. There's a Dr. Amy. She's a white woman on a YouTube channel. Cancer and being a cancer survivor. At 30 years old, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer after she had just got a newlywed, and it was the size of a football in her on her ovary. Now she said, how could that be? I just wore this beautiful gown and everything, but they did 2 different tests, and it was the size of a football. So now she talks about cancer, and they say don't eat sugar because sugar fuels cancer and all these things. So I follow someone that you feel is reputable, that can be a support also in that manner. Also, don't listen to everybody about cancer, because it's not good. But learn how to eat right so that the cancer doesn't reoccur. Like eat protein, don't eat a greasy, junky food, and, eat wholesome food mostly. Only maybe 5% have something that ain't no beneficial really, but most of the time eat beneficially to keep yourself strong.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
And thank you. I was so afraid of this, but thank you for having me.
Absolutely.